Ready to gear up for a deep dive into history, because today we're tackling a real head turner, literally, the Corinthian helmet.
Ah, yes, the Corinthian helmet. It's one of those instantly recognizable pieces of military history. But there's a lot more to it than just its iconic looks.
Exactly. I mean, we see these helmets in movies, statues, even cartoons. They practically scream ancient Greece. But what made them so special? And why were they so darn popular for, like, what, centuries?
Well, to understand that, we need to understand the hoplites. They were the citizen soldiers of ancient Greece, and the Corinthian helmet was practically their trademark.
Citizen soldiers, not professional warriors, meaning they weren't exactly swimming in drachmas to outfit themselves, so this helmet must have been a pretty big deal for them.
Right, and one of the first things you notice about the Corinthian helmet is that it's made from a single sheet of bronze. Imagine the craftsmanship involved in that.
Whoa, a single sheet.
Yeah.
Talk about hardcore metalworking. No wonder these things were built to last.
Exactly. That single sheet construction made it incredibly strong. It offered almost total head protection. Cheek pieces, a nose guard, the works. It was the epitome of battlefield durability.
Yeah, but I gotta ask, with all that bronze covering your head, how much could you actually see or hear? I'm picturing something like, well, a metal bucket with a very determined Spartan crammed inside.
Light chuckle. You're not wrong. It definitely wasn't known for its fantastic field of view.
Yeah.
That T-shaped opening for the eyes and mouth, let's just say it wasn't exactly panoramic vision.
But here's the thing, they weren't fighting alone.
Enter the phalanx. I vaguely remember this from history class. It was like ancient Greece's version of the human tank, right?
A very fitting comparison. The phalanx was a tightly packed formation of hoplites, shields interlocked, advancing as one impenetrable unit. And in that kind of formation, individual awareness wasn't as important as, say, trusting the guy next to you not to trip over a stray sandal. Okay, so being a little deaf and blind isn't such a big deal when you've got a wall of shields and a bunch of buddies to watch your six. But still, wearing what amounts to a bronze bucket on your head, that's got to mess with your fighting style, right?
It did. And here's where it gets even more interesting. We know the Corinthians often wore their helmets pushed back on their heads, almost like a decorative crown. Now, that might seem strange, but
Wait, so they were basically headbutting each other with these things?
in a way, yes. That's precisely why the design works so well with the phalanx formation. That backward tilt acted as a shock absorber during those brutal shield clashes. Of course, it did come with its own set of challenges.
Like what? Falling off mid-battle.
Imagine you're charging into the fray, adrenaline pumping, and suddenly your helmet gets knocked askew, blinding you in the process. Not ideal.
Yikes. Talk about a bad day at the office. So they had this incredible, albeit slightly cumbersome, helmet, but it wasn't just about practicality, was it? I mean, we've seen depictions with plumes, engravings, even paint. Did they outsource helmet pimping back then?
So was. Not quite. But you're right, these weren't just faceless soldiers, they were individuals. And those additions, those flourishes of personality, they served a purpose. Take the horsehair crests, for example. Imagine a whole wall of bronze coming at you, topped with these brightly colored plumes waving menacingly.
Talk about psychological warfare. It's like something out of a movie, only this was real life for those facing down a Corinthian phalanx.
Exactly. It was intimidating for sure. And then you have the engravings, geometric patterns, mythological scenes, even personal mottos. It seems that even within the stripped formation of the phalanx, there was still room for individual expression.
That's fascinating. It's like this weird tension between being part of this uniform unit and still wanting to stand out as an individual warrior.
Hmm.
So what led to the downfall of this iconic helmet?
Well, like all good things, even the Corinthian helmet eventually met its match.
Because let's face it, nothing stays on top in the fashion world forever, right?
Well.
Especially when it comes to battlefield attire.
Exactly. By the 5th century BC, newer styles like the Thracian and Chalcidian helmets started gaining popularity. Warfare was changing, becoming faster, more fluid.
Hold on. Before we get ahead of ourselves, rewind a bit. What were these new helmet styles all about? How are they different from the Corinthian design?
We'll take the Thracian helmet, for instance. It often had these cool cheek pieces that hinged outwards. This gave warriors a wider field of vision, which was crucial in a more dynamic battlefield. Plus, easier breathing, always a bonus. Then there was the Chalcidian helmet, known for its distinctive cheek pieces that curved upwards, offering decent protection without muffling sound as much. So you see, these newer designs were all about adapting to the evolving nature of warfare.
I get it. So as tactics shifted away from the slow, grinding advance of the phalanx to something more, well, agile, the limitations of the Corinthian helmet became a liability.
Exactly. It's a classic example of how even the most successful designs eventually become obsolete as technology and tactics evolve. What was once cutting edge becomes a relic of a bygone era.
Makes you think, doesn't it? Centuries from now, some future historian is going to be looking at our modern gear and be like, what were they thinking?
Imagine them puzzling over the design of a bicycle helmet, or even better, those VR headsets. But who knows what those future discoveries will uncover about our own time.
That's a thought, isn't it? What seemingly mundane objects from our lives will become the Corinthian helmets of the future, whispering tales of forgotten ways. Something to ponder, wouldn't you say?